Good morning and welcome. On behalf of the Oral History Project, I am IUN. My name is Scott Crawley. I'm here with Cory Armand, and I'd like to thank you for being here. Today is April 18th, 2024. We are currently in the Anderson Library at IUN. Do I have permission to video and record and share this interview?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. I think we're ready to begin. So first question I'd like to ask you, Cory. Can you give a memorable experience from your childhood or describe what it was like growing up in your hometown?
Well, I was born and raised here in Gary, Indiana, where IUN is located. Um, and childhood memories, I would just say, walking to school. I mean, I look at nowadays, with my kids and things like that, even though a lot of kids, they catch the bus to go to school, even if it's, less than a mile, they're either getting a ride and catching the bus. But I remember, growing up in the city of Gary, we walked to school, and I went to Douglas Elementary School, Beckman Middle School, and Roosevelt High School, even though those schools were probably within a 3 or 4 mile radius, but every day, rain, sleet, snow, we all walked to school. And that was, us and, me and the kids in the neighborhood. And that was time for bonding and, things of that nature. So
Right.
that's one thing that I see different now, versus, back then. And those were memorable times. I tell my daughter all the time, I remember when we was walking to school, and if it rains a little bit, you guys are scared to go outside,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, did you have any kind of funny or memorable family experience from your childhood that you'd like to share as well?
Funny. Um, this might be a little lame, but I remember walking home from school, elementary school specifically. It was this girl that I had a crush on, and I was trying to walk cool and impress her. And we were standing there talking, and there was a ketchup packet on the ground,
Hmm.
and I had the idea to step on it and smash it, to show
Yeah.
how cool I was. And when I did that, I stepped on it, smashed it, the ketchup flew in my face. And so it was very embarrassing,
But memorable,
but
absolutely.
memorable. Yeah.
Yeah,
And like I said, that was in elementary school. And here I am, 42 years old, and I still remember that exact moment.
that's
So,
awesome. No, that's definitely something I remember as well. What types of activities did you enjoy as a kid?
now, when you say as a kid, how far back are we going?
Let's do childhood to preteen, teenage years.
Okay. Well, I played football for Beckman Middle School and Roosevelt High School. So, being an athlete, those were some of the most memorable times. Creating those fellowships and those bonds with those young men, and just learning how to, play an organized sport with rules. And again, another thing that we did, coming up throughout the summer, we would play basketball, football, baseball, but
Right.
the rules were limited. But once you get into organized sports, you kind of learn the structure. So those were the most some of the most enjoyable times throughout my childhood, being a student athlete for my middle school and high school.
Now, I'm curious, is there anything that happened at middle school and high school that impacted you or influenced you to come to IUN specifically as a college?
Um, Nothing specifically, because to be honest, while I was in high school, um, I did okay. Again, I was an athlete, but I used to always tell myself, I am not. Once I'm done with high school, I don't want to read another book.
Yeah,
My goal was to finish high school and go to the military, and just try to find a job and just retire from the military. Do that. School wasn't um, the fun thing for me. I liked going. I liked being in class and talking, because I was an only child, so I liked being around people and hanging out. But yeah, college wasn't the ideal path that I had for myself. However, during senior year, um, we had like a college fair, and all of my classmates were talking about, hey, I'm trying to go to this school, and I'm gonna try to apply here and this and that. So I'm like, well, I guess I should probably do the same thing just to see.
right.
And I actually applied to a few universities in the region, and the first school I attended was Purdue in West Lafayette. I used to watch Purdue football, from time to time. So I would, seeing them on TV was kind of like it's like watching the NBA.
Yeah.
You would think as a kid I would never be able to go to an NBA game, and when I got an acceptance letter from Purdue, I got excited for some reason, and I said, you know what, I guess I'm gonna try this thing out. So that was the first step and experience that I had going into college. I went to Purdue first. However, that was my first time being away from home, being free, having, you know, a limited, I'm not going to say, well, I was responsible for myself. I didn't have
Right. It was
anyone
all
to answer
you.
to. It was all me. And I think, well, I'm not going to say I think, but I took advantage of that, and I really didn't apply myself the way that I should have during those early years coming straight out of high school. So what I ended up doing, I ended up coming back home after spending 2 years at Purdue. I mean, I was doing okay, but I was capable of doing a whole lot better. But unfortunately, I was still young, and I just didn't have the discipline to stay focused and stay committed and do what it needed to take to, you know, start there and finish there. So I ended up coming back home, getting a job. Started off working in the steel mill, and from the steel mill, I went. Also started working. I left the steel mill and worked for Cargill, which is in Hammond. And for those of you who don't know, Cargill is the world's largest privately owned company.
Okay.
At that particular facility, we make cornstarch, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, like all the main ingredients, all unhealthy main ingredients in everything that you eat and drink. So I worked there for a number of years, and while I was there, they had a tuition reimbursement program, and I already had credits from Purdue, and I'm like, hey, a tuition reimbursement program, and it was 100% reimbursement up to so many dollars per year that included tuition and books. So I enrolled in that program, and I was still here. I was back here in Northwest Indiana, so IUN was the school of choice, and I was able to take advantage of that program, and that's what led me to a college career here at Indiana University, and graduated in 2015 with a bachelor's degree in business administration.
Awesome. That's quite a story and a pathway there, and it's actually interesting that you bring up the military because right now we're two different paths. You were looking at doing it and then went into the college, and I actually went in the military and did that. So I can kind of see where you're coming from, where you had one way of going it, and I was the same. I didn't want to go to college at all. Didn't want to do any of that. But it's interesting that we're here now. We've met up different pathways, but the same ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But something I did want to ask you too is you said business administration. What made you decide to go into business, at least with that degree here at IUN?
Well, I've always been somewhat of a business guy,
Right.
for lack of a better word. So I used to buy cars and fix them up and resell them. I used to buy bulk inventory of sneakers, and I would resell them for a profit. So that all tied into just a business. A lot of my friends, they just referred to me as the business guy.
Yeah.
And that was the major that kind of related to where I was as a person. So, and it actually it lined up perfectly. I thought that I knew a lot about business, but once I got into the program and all of the things that I was unaware of in business, that's where I picked up all of those pieces, and that's what helped me kind of take my business acumen, to the next level.
Okay. And then you said that in high school and middle school you did extra like sports and kind of stuff like that. Did you get a chance at Purdue or IUN to get any kind of extracurricular sports or clubs that you were involved in, maybe government class or no clubs or anything like that?
No, not really. Like I said, once I got away from home, the only clubs that I was going to was the ones around the campus and hanging out. So yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't really. Yeah, I didn't. I just met a lot of friends, built a lot of relationships, and that's one thing that I did learn while I was there. I know, some people look at college as a tool just to get a degree so they can get a job, but that's actually one of the largest places where you can build one of your most important networks, because you meet so many different people from all around the world, different cultures, different backgrounds, different races. But one thing that you all have in common at that time is, hey, we're here together and we're going through this process of getting educated, waking up on our own and being responsible. We're going through this process together.
Right.
And you build a lot of relationships. And, to this day, that was back in 1999 and 2000, because I graduated from high school in 99. I'm still connected with some of the friends that I've met. My first roommate, I'm still connected with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is, like I said, 20 years later. So yeah.
Yeah, I could say that some bonds last forever, and those are bonds that are unbreakable and absolutely are productive in the business world, especially. But moving right along, I wanted to get into your family history, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Going into, would you be willing to share about your family heritage and where did your family originally come from?
So my family, the roots of my family, they are from Opelika, Alabama. But my mom, father, grandparents, they all are from Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
And later on, throughout the years, I've learned that, so one thing that motivated me about my family, or the void that was in my family, I had an uncle, he passed away. He actually attended Purdue in West Lafayette and was a historical track star for Roosevelt and Purdue. But he, however, did not finish Purdue. So once I got that bit of that history of my family, I was more inspired and motivated to finish school, because I am the first person in my family to actually have a college degree. So this was a monumental moment for me. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional because
no, it absolutely should be. It's an absolute huge accomplishment.
Yeah, and I just wanted to change the trajectory of the route that the family history was going, and it wasn't that no one in the family was educated enough or didn't have the finances. It's just one thing that we were taught, and my parents were taught, grandparents were taught. Hey, you get out of school, high school, you find a job, and you work until you retire.
Right.
And it was my goal and my mission to say, I need to stop that. I need to change that trajectory.
Right.
I mean, if that's the way my kids will want to go, or someone else in my family wants, that's fine. But know that there are other options. You can go to college, get a degree, and you can still go find a great job with great benefits and retire. Or you can go to college, get a degree, and become an entrepreneur. Or there are other options. The only way was not just going to high school, graduating, and getting a job. So yeah.
Well, I want to say absolutely, congratulations on that. That's a huge accomplishment, and I see what you mean. Where your family was doing one thing, but you wanted to show us. You said you have a family. Show your children maybe this way's fine, but here are other options that have been tried and true. I've done them myself,
Absolutely.
So you can do whatever you want, basically. But no, I understand, and like I said, congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Are there any traditions that may have been passed down from your family?
Traditions. The main tradition is the spiritual. One thing my mom always did, every Sunday we were in church, regardless of what. Church is the foundation. Having that spiritual relationship and connection with God. That is and has always been the foundation of everything in our lives. So regardless of where you go to school, where you work, be grateful and be thankful for what you have, and know that God has allowed you to be in that position that you're in, whether it's good or bad. And if it is bad, God wouldn't have he wouldn't put more on you than you can bear. So if it's bad, that means it's either preparing you for something and you can get through it. So that's one of the traditions that has been passed down from my family, just rooted in God.
Yeah, and talking about those trials and tribulations, my thing is I always like to think that God is not called the qualified; He qualifies the called,
Mhm.
and it's something I like to think about specifically in my own faith. Did you have a specific denomination that
Yes,
you?
yes. So Christian apostolic. So that's
Okay,
yeah. So I grew up Baptist, and however, as I got older and started researching things on my own, we went over to apostolic, which they're pretty close. It's a few nuances between the two, but Christian is the foundation.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, speaking of spirituality, is there any other spiritual beliefs that have influenced your life or family life today?
No, I mean that is the foundation.
Okay,
Nothing too left field or anything like that, but just knowing where your help comes from. When your back is against the wall, you know what to do as far as praying to God, asking for direction. Any decision that you make, know that you should seek God for understanding and the answers before you make those decisions. And I tried to pride myself on doing that on all the small and large decisions that I make. And sometimes I may forget and may not pray about a decision, and but for the most part, that is the foundation, and
absolutely.
that's
Well,
what's helped me thus far.
no, I absolutely understand that. As a man of faith myself, I have I put all of my um, hurt and problems on God because those are His, and He tells us to give them to Him. And
Absolutely.
uh, no, I absolutely understand. Changing gears a little bit, just going into your current career and work.
Mhm.
Can you tell me about your career and work experience and your current position?
So work experience, like I stated, started off. Well, I'll make it short, but in high school, my first job, I worked as a butcher at a grocery store, which was right behind my house, which was real convenient. Started off as a butcher, worked there throughout high school. My senior year, during the summer, I worked for a roofing company. That's where I tapped into the carpentry side. But also, I forgot to mention, while I was in high school, I attended Gary Area Career Center. I took up carpentry as
Okay,
well. So I was, okay with my hands as far as tools and working on projects. And then again, I worked for a roofing company throughout high school during my senior year. And once I came back, like I said, I started working for the steel mill for a couple of years, and then I started off working at Then I went to Cargill, worked in operations. Then once I graduated uh, IUN and got my degree, I moved up from operations to management at Cargill. I was an inventory manager there, keeping track of the inventory. I was working on a system called SAP, System Applications and Processes. It's a high-tech system that we use to kind of manage our inventory, manage our costs, and all of those things. And while I was working in the steel mill and Cargill, I was also buying real estate throughout the
okay,
city of Gary. I would buy a property. I started off with one house, bought a house, fixed it up, and rented it out. And once I started getting those rents in, um, and with the money that I was receiving from my job, saved up some more, and my tax refund checks when I was saving up. And then once I saved up enough, I went and bought another house. So I repeated that process while I was working at Cargill. Um, my entire career at Cargill, I was there for 15 years. So every year I was buying houses because my goal was to leave the job and become a full-time real estate investor. And during COVID, I was still working for Cargill. I was still buying properties, fixing them up, and renting them out. But during COVID, well, pre-COVID, everyone, even myself, everyone was so used to just working, going to school, doing what they're doing, going on about their day,
absolutely, yeah,
and before you look up, it's time to go to bed.
yeah,
And once COVID hit, that caused the world to stop. And what that did with me, it allowed me to like really assess my situation, my financial situation. I have a wife and two kids, and I know my time at home was very limited because I was working full time and working with these properties when I get off work and I'm getting home 8 or 9 o'clock every day, exhausted, trying to give my family what's left. And once COVID hit, I kind of reassessed my situation because I was working from home at that time because we couldn't go into the office. And I just kind of, looked at what I was making at Cargill, what I was making on my properties, and what my expenses were at home. And, I was like, well, you know what? If I commit this same 40 hours that I'm committing with Cargill, if I put this into my business, and the properties that I have now will currently sustain my financial setup now, my bills, my mortgage, and all of that stuff, I can live comfortably without doing nothing frivolously,
Hmm.
then I should be okay. And
Yeah.
so after I assessed that situation, I went back to the job and I put in a 3 months notice. It wasn't a 2 weeks notice. I gave my employer 3 months to let them know, hey, this will be in 3 months. I'll be, resigning to pursue a full-time career in real estate. And my boss, they were all, sad because I would think that I was a good employee. I actually was awarded 20 under 40 for Cargill. That's with New York. I mean, not New York, but the Indiana Times. It's the 20 employees throughout the region that was under 40 that was doing good in their career. So I was awarded that. So they were sad, but they understood that, I had bigger dreams.
Do what you had to do.
Yeah. And here I am, 2024, full-time real estate investor, and doing pretty well. So that's what I do. So that's where I'm at now. I'm buying properties throughout the city of Gary, trying to help rebuild the city of Gary, one house at a time, one property at a time, commercial property at a time. And before I left Cargill, I purchased a building here right south of Indiana University. It's right here on 37th and Broadway. That's my headquarters. It's AIG Business Center. It's also a shared office space. So my intent was to have my own office. But when I bought the building and started putting it together, I told myself I didn't need all of this space to do the real estate business that I was doing. But I knew other people that needed office space as well. So what I did was I carved out myself an office and a conference room and things like that. But then I also made the rest of the space in the building accessible to other entrepreneurs in the community that need a place to come and conduct business or to host meetings or just a place to come and brainstorm, a quiet place where they can come and focus. They can use the Wi-Fi, have a printer, a network printer in there as well. So it's kind of like a business hub, and it's the first of its kind in the city of Gary. And it also has a fast food restaurant in the front. It's not mine, but that's just attached to the building. So, yeah.
Now, when you decided that you were going to go away from your full-time job and go all in on your business, how many houses at the time did you have that you felt comfortable enough to do that?
At that time, I had 15.
15 houses.
I had 15 houses, and I probably could have done it a lot sooner. But again, like I mentioned, I was so used to just going to work, working on the houses. I knew all my bills were paid. I knew that I didn't have any needs or anything like that. And I just wasn't really paying attention to my financial position. But but I was at 15 houses when I decided to.
And then you said that you had carpenter experience. Now, when you bought these houses, you were the one that was going in to save money you did all the work yourself?
I did majority of the work.
That saved a ton of money.
Yeah, it saved a ton of money. It took a lot of more time. And as I got wiser, after a few houses, I started hiring help, and when I got a few more dollars to kind of help out, I started hiring, guys to help out. That way I can get through the property, because me doing it myself, it took me twice as much time to complete it versus having someone to come and help. I can get it done in half the amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just a curiosity, when you would buy a house, to buy the next house, what was the time in between that you would save up, accumulate enough liquid funds or whatever to buy that next house?
So initially it was 1 year. So my goal was every year I would buy a house.
Okay.
So for the first 4 years, that's what it was. I was buying one house a year. But then after I learned about credit and refinancing, pulling equity out, because initially I was buying these houses cash,
Yeah.
Didn't have any mortgages. Wasn't aware of, pulling equity out and, reinvesting. And as I educated myself, I found out about those tools, and I went from buying one house a year to buying multiple houses a year. As soon as I find a good deal, I jump on it. So yeah, but started off with one house, and then I went to 2, 3, 4. Now I bought as many as 7 houses in 1 year.
Okay, great. What do you value the most about your current work or personal environment or professional environment? I'm sorry.
What I admire the most is, number one, the flexibility. Being able to go to lunch whenever I feel like it. Take a meeting, go to a meeting, or go to a seminar, go to a conference, or just having the flexibility to move freely. Also to spend more time with the family without looking at a vacation schedule to see if I have enough vacation time.
Right.
Is it okay to, so having that flexibility is one of the things that I admire the most. However, I do find myself working twice as much.
Yeah.
But it's different. Working for yourself, you get lost in your work because sometimes it doesn't feel like work. It's just,
You enjoy it.
I enjoy it. I can go from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and not eat, just working and doing, because I get caught up in my work, and I have to realize, oh, I didn't eat today. And I know, working my 9 to 5, it was like clockwork. Hey, 11:30, 12 o'clock is lunchtime. I was programmed while I was at work. But now, being an entrepreneur full time, it's when I get hungry, that's when I'll eat.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Just to give an example.
And I can see why, working for somebody else, you're contributing to building up somebody else, but working for yourself, it's all about you. All the work you're doing is for you.
Absolutely.
So I can absolutely see how you would get lost in that. And that's absolutely admirable. But I've covered all my questions. Is there anything, Cory, that you wanted to go over that I haven't gone over yet?
The only thing I would like to probably add is I really valued my time here at IUN. One of the main reasons was the faculty. Now, I know typically when you go to a 4-year accredited university, the tradition is you're a student, you're a number, you're going into a classroom, the professor is going to give you some information, they're going to go over something on a chalkboard or whatever, a dry erase board, you get the information, you come back and take the test, and at the end of the semester you get a grade.
Right.
Here at IUN, I was blessed and fortunate enough to have professors that I knew personally, that knew me personally, they knew their students by name. They were, they cared about your family, they cared about your well-being, they cared about your careers. Like it was almost like high school. Like the teachers knew you in high school.
Right. They had a personal level with you.
Exactly. And that was one experience that I valued the most here at IUN, and I still have professors that I still keep in contact with here at IUN, and it was a great experience. It was a great experience.
Is there any specific professor that outshined the others and maybe influenced you in a certain way, or gave you that kind of feeling of, oh, I'm going to go out and be an entrepreneur, or anything like that?
Well, I have 3 that I can't put one before the other, but
right.
It was Professor Hopkins.
Oh, Charlie Hopkins. Yeah. Oh, great guy.
He used to always, I was working swing shift. He would always, Cory, you need to get off those swing shifts. You need to get off those swing shifts. Stop working nights. That's not healthy. As soon as you can get you a straight day position, that's what you do. And that motivated me while I was at Cargill to go on the management side, to work straight days. I mean, he was always in the back of my, get off of those swing shifts. I was working, days, midnights, 3-11s, and that does take a toll on your body. Yeah. Professor Rao, that was my accounting and statistics professor, and she was very instrumental in my studies. Made sure that because I struggled a little bit in accounting, statistics. I'm sorry.
Yeah, stats got me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had her too, and it's a pain, but we had plenty of Zoom meetings, everything where she would go over everything, very intricate and very knowledgeable about the subject.
She would not let me settle. She would not let me fail. I even tried to drop the class. She would not let me drop the class. Like that was unheard of. She made sure that she gave me all of the resources that I needed as far as getting the tutoring and the help, and I was able to pass that class with a B. And I didn't think that I could do it. It was just that challenging. And then Professor Harmon, I still speak with her to this day. Again, she knows my family. She knows about my family. She's followed. We stayed in touch, throughout my career. She knows everything. I mean, she's actually brought her class down to my office
Yeah.
For a tour and everything. So that's, again, you can't, and it was authentic. It was an authentic relationship, authentic bonds that I was able to get and build here at IUN with the professors. Not to take away from any other professors, but those were the top three that really had an impact on me while I was here at IUN.
Well, and I can tell you, Cory, being here and having those same professors, they're doing the same kind of work that they were doing when you were here, and building that next generation of entrepreneurs, of great managers, of great employees. And it's awesome that you specifically called them out and told them, because I know that they put in the hard work.
Oh, yeah.
And they're authentic.
Yes.
They're not fake.
No.
And they truly care about what you're going to do, and they're on you about things. Like, I didn't want to go to the career fair on Friday, for example, but Professor Hobson was, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go. And it just so happens I found a really great job that I'm going to be pursuing. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But it's those people that make that impact on you, that maybe if they hadn't, maybe you wouldn't be here, the entrepreneur, you'd still be working for Cargill. And for me, maybe I wouldn't have got that great opportunity. And it's awesome that we can stay here together, soon to be alum already, and say that how IUN has impacted us.
Yeah.
Well, Cory, I want to thank you for today's interview. I want to thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man, but thank you for this, and I appreciate it. IUN appreciates it.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you.
Thank you.